But we went to the fancier Peaches, which is a couple of blocks away, and I had catfish, but I had two cocktails.
Okay.
So that folks, it's gonna be a good night because I'm as you know, everybody, this is a George movie night, so it means hairy hominids.
Later, we're going to talk about Boggy Creek. The adventure continues.
Or, as it's also known, I didn't write to. Did you see it has another title?
Let's go to the song.
It's Seti Bimco Part 2, The Revenge. The show where we create revenge sequels that nobody wanted. If you ever darken my doorsteps again, I'll turn on the porch light.
Yeah. Let me say it's Seti Bimco. Seti Bimco Part 2, The Revenge.
Woo!
Phew. And later,
Tim, what makes this the revenge? What makes it the revenge?
Because later we're going to watch a movie and we're going to talk about the revenge sequels that were never made.
Yeah, we're going to make these up for you, dear listeners.
And in fact, we have a wild card question that I draw out of a jar.
All right, Tim's pulling it out of the jar.
So, George, it's number 4 I picked out of the hat. So we're going to watch this movie and ask who from this movie would be most likely to become a superhero.
Ugh, that sucks. Okay.
Ooh, did you have a great week? Or if you're
my week, what?
Outraged.
Well, let me tell you about my week. Whoa! Oh, outrage. Okay, I'm gonna. You know what, Tim? I know we often are pretty careful about this here because we at Seti Bimco we try not to offend other people, but I am going to put a chunk of the populace on blast because this week, my brother and I, we flew down to the state of Florida.
Oh, okay.
We picked up my dad and we drove with him up the northeast coast to North Carolina.
You broke him out of Florida.
Where we visited my sister, who's just moved there. My sister, who's been a California resident, she and her husband, for decades now. They just in the last couple of weeks have moved out to North Carolina, Asheville specifically, and we drove out there. And what I'm going to say I'm outraged at is just the general state of Florida.
Well, how long were you there? You got them and ran, right?
No, we spent a couple nights in Florida.
Ooh. Bookending
the trip, yeah. Florida is just it's Florida stinks. It's hot. It's muggy. I don't like Florida.
That's all you're complaining about, hot and muggy?
No. I mean, there's so look.
We know it's hot and muggy.
I think we all look. Everybody, I want you to know, visual aid. I'm fixing Tim with a steady gaze. We know the problems with Florida. There's a reason why Bugs Bunny sawed off Florida and let it float into the Caribbean. Florida is a problem. And I had to spend a couple days there in Florida. And while I have family in Florida, I do not enjoy Florida. And I'm going to complain about my outrage at just being in Florida. North Carolina, aces. Loved it. Asheville, that's a great place. It's small compared to New York. But if you're listening from Asheville, way to go. You've made a really nice little place for yourselves there. I went to a fucking DVD store and bought 2 DVDs.
Ooh, shout out to Asheville. Hashtag Asheville.
Shout out to Orbit Video, specifically at Asheville.
Oh,
ate all these
Video.
Great places. Yeah, had a great time.
Let me write that
Florida.
Down. Orbit Video. How do you spell
Orbit
that?
Video. Like orbit, like a planet.
Orbit Video.
Yeah.
Is that pronounced Orbit or?
Orbit. Pretty cool. They also have, Tim, if you're interested in like increasing your knowledge of the arcane, like spells and pagan gods.
Yeah.
No comics at all, actually.
Harry Potter books. Okay.
No Harry Potter books because they don't like turfs. No, like full on shit. Like if you want to like really like you're like, hey, Baphomet, I want powers.
Mm-hmm.
They probably have cooler gods than Baphomet, but like there was like a literal whole section of pagan gods.
All right.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I liked it.
That's not much of an outrage.
Well, no, Florida. Guys, Florida. If you live in Florida, what is that noise, Tim?
Drag racing.
Oh, okay. All right.
So just car drag racing. Don't panic, George.
I was pretty
Don't get upset.
Nice. Oh, nice thing about Asheville. There was drag stuff everywhere. All these drag stories. Yeah. But Florida is a degraded state. And if you live there, I'm sorry to say you've been degraded by virtue of the government there. That's a bad place.
Yeah.
Well. And unfortunately, at this point, it's full of bad people. Not exclusively.
There's
good people there.
You know, Mikey P.
You should really get out.
Mikey P lives there.
He does?
Who helped us guest host
Yeah, Mikey P, who liked Generation X, the Marvel TV movie for the 90s, enough said. I said, Florida made of bad people.
He sent me some nice stickers because he's now a co-host of the movie mixtape. Sent me some nice stickers, and the address was Florida. I'm like, oh, I forget he lives in Florida.
Yeah.
Because he scared me. I'm like, who's writing me from Florida?
Yeah, if I got unsolicited mail from Florida, I'd probably have to open that up behind in like a bomb-proof shelter. Florida's not good, folks. That's what I'm outraged at. The general state of Florida.
Okay.
How about you, Tim?
That wasn't as funny as I thought it would be.
Nah, that was real. I kept it real.
Kept it real?
Wait, are we recording?
We're recording.
Okay.
My outrage.
Uh-huh.
I am outraged. I saw the new McDonald's campaign, and it's a Grimace. It's Grimace's birthday, so there's a purple shake. Can't it be a grape shake? What a fun thing for a kid to say. Grape shake.
Grape
Although
shake.
they'll say great shapes, and I know. But anyway.
I have a question before you go any further. Did you know that Grimace in like the echelon of McDonald's characters represented the shake?
Yeah, I know. He's always drinking shakes.
Didn't. No, it wasn't until college my roommate told me about the commercial where he first appeared, where he makes the ground shake because he's so big. Because I was always like, what is he? Is he like a weird purple McNugget? Yeah, because Early Bird, she's the breakfast menu. The Fry Guys are obviously fries. The hamburgers are the hamburgers. Ronald is the long meat menu off the back. You could hey, give me some of that.
But why celebrate him? Because he's horrific. His birthday.
He is.
He hatched first before his other siblings, and he ate all of their other 12 of his siblings. Oh, wow, that's how it works.
Wait, so what species Grimace is? They lay clutches of eggs of 13?
We don't know.
Well, you just spoke with great certainty on the subject.
I can say no more.
Tim is the world's foremost What? I mean, is he a mammal? Is he a reptile?
Well, he's a
marsupial.
He's the confusing kind, like a platypus. We're like, what is he?
Oh, a monotreme. So he's like a mammal that lays eggs.
Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yep, you know it. Monotremes.
That's
Echidnas, platypi. I don't think that's how you actually pluralize that. Yep.
I'm also outraged.
Uh-huh.
And I won't name names. There's a man who was written up in the Times, and he makes pizza at different places because he doesn't have a store. And Mondays he makes pizza in our neighborhood at a restaurant. Like he's got
Is it
the
the place
oven.
that you often go to?
No, it's his new. You order like one of 5 personal pies. He makes it for you, gives it to you, and it's really good. And as I walked away with my box, he shouted at me. He's like, "Now don't take that home and warm it up in the microwave." And I'm just outraged that he thinks I'm that type of person that would take a pizza home and warm it up in a microwave. And he's shouting at everybody, pointing at me, like as if now all those people think I'm that type of person.
I have to follow.
You know not to do that, right? Put a pizza in the microwave.
Yeah, I mean,
it just turns
for
gummy.
Me, yeah, you got to do it either in the stove or failing that, maybe an air fryer.
And I'm eating it.
Or I leave it at room temperature. That's my way. Like just kind of like let it sit at let it just kind of gradually. Yeah, let the cheese salmonella. Just get bad. Yeah, salmonella is good. Tim, when he asked you this.
No, he shouted at me as I walked away.
When he shouted this to you, making you an object of ridicule, were you carrying a bunch of bananas?
No bananas.
No, okay. So no chance of supermodels becoming engaged in conversation with bananas.
Oh, I forgot that news story. Did you see the news story that they had a funeral and the lady knocked on her coffin? I sent this. You never look at my stories.
I looked at this one. Yeah, it was
She's
a woman.
76.
It was Paraguay, if I'm remembering correctly. Ecuador. Just being very racist in my glomming together of various
Yes.
South American countries. But women, did you catch the timeline of that?
It says relatives open
She
coffin.
died like Friday morning, and Friday evening they were already having the wake, preparing to bury her.
I think there's a lot of money involved here or something.
I think they were trying to get rid of her quick.
Yeah.
So this woman, quote unquote, died. I don't know if it's a Friday morning. I seem to remember it be Friday morning. In the morning, by the afternoon, late afternoon, they were already having a wake where they were all sitting there saying all their goodbyes. The whole family assembled.
20 of them.
Which props them for getting together. Yeah.
After
and they
5
heard
hours.
5 hours.
Yep.
They heard a noise coming from the coffin. It was her awake.
Oof.
But the article was pretty clear. They didn't expect her to make a full recovery.
So they were just like,
like, well, we got to wait a couple more hours
It's
to stick
Friday.
grandma on the ground. Yeah.
It's Friday. Let's go.
You know, there was definitely somebody like passing like a bill to like the funeral director. Like, look, we just come on. I got tickets to a football match. You know,
there's a new milkshake. Grimace celebration at McDonald's this weekend only.
No.
Hey, Bigfoot. Hey, this movie.
Tim, actually, I don't know if you noticed. I don't think they ever say the word Bigfoot.
They don't.
The movie that we are discussing this week is 1984's Boggy Creek 2, The Legend Continues. And I have some stuff to say about this one, just to give a little history of this, because it is a sequel. But basically, the synopsis, and Tim always gives me a hard time because I give long synopses, but this is
2 sentences.
This is it.
George.
It's 2 sentences. A anthropology professor from Arkansas, takes 2 of his students and one of their friends into a trip into the wilds to document stories and capture, or maybe just capture footage of a Bigfoot-like monster known as the Beast of Boggy Creek or the Fook Monster. The end. That's it.
Yay.
Yeah.
And this is like the 3rd movie I know of a teacher bringing students, because there's
well,
one.
That's the thing. It's crazy. This is why I did it, because this is very similar to last week's movie, or the last episode's movie, which was the Shriek of the Mutilated.
Yeah, Shriek of the Mutilated, or
That
Shrieks.
sounded weird.
It was more than one shriek.
Okay, yeah. Which is the exact, even like down to like the same. Well, this one, there's 2 female students and 1 male student. That one, there was 2 females and 2 males. And it's even very similar to The Werewolf and the Yeti, where again, anthropology professor bringing 2 female students and the various hangers-on of dude varieties,
and
including the guy who becomes a werewolf.
Sorry. And a bossy teacher. And a bossy teacher.
Yeah. And all of these, a bossy teacher who really like does nothing, all 3 movies, does nothing to like convey any sense of like, he seems like an insane person. It's like, why are people following this person?
And there's nobody did anything else in this movie. No.
Well, actually, that's what I want to talk about, the history.
Oh.
So let me give you all a quick history of this. So you'll notice it's Boggy Creek 2. The first Boggy Creek was from 1977. It was called, 1972, I think, which is called The Legend of Boggy Creek. And this is a movie that is kind of like super famous in Bigfoot circles. This guy, Charles B. Pierce, who plays the main character in this movie, he was the director, producer, everything. He was an advertising salesman who worked as a set decorator on a few films in Hollywood and was like, I want to move back to Arkansas, where I come from, and create independent films. And he starts off doing this film based on this actual, and by actual, pretend I'm doing big hand quotes, cryptid called the Fook Monster. This was a creature people were seeing in this one town called Fook in Arkansas. And the original Boggy Creek is kind of like one of the first docudramas, where he's interviewing people who actually saw this monster, the real people, refilming recreations of their encounters. And it was a cult hit. It was filmed for like $160,000 in 1972. Ended up grossing $22 million.
I think it used to be on the CBS late movie when I was like a kid.
I definitely grew up with it. That's the thing. It's kind of hard to see right now because I guess his estate has gotten those rights back and they've redone something with it. So you have to pay to rent it. We're not going to pay to see this movie right now. But the original one is very, like, if you are like a person who goes out in the woods looking for Bigfoot, like this is a movie that you credit as being a big influence.
Right.
The original Boggy Creek.
Made me go out in
the
woods. The
movie we watched tonight is a sequel done in 1984 by the same guy, Charles B. Pierce, who directed like 9 or 10 movies of varying quality, mostly outside the Hollywood system, but with some big stars. He directed like Lee Majors.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
And like he had a pretty successful career. He also did The Town That Feared Sundown. You may have heard that one. It's about the Phantom Killer. He regards this as his worst film. I will say I don't think this film was that bad.
This one or the Town That Dreads Dead Night?
This one that we watched, Boggy Creek 2. This was him. It was like his 9th or 10th film. Producers were like,
and he was the main actor, right? Did I read?
He was the main actor in this one. In the first one, he plays like a bit part. The first one is like you're watching a documentary, like, but it's not quite. So the cast: Charles B. Pierce, the director, the producer, one of the producers, the writer, and he's the main character. He plays Dr. Brian C. Lockhart.
I call him Professor.
You're right. They call him Prof a lot.
I'm calling him that. I'm just telling you that.
His character, can we just say, his character is an asshole.
Yeah.
Can I read you a quote, Tim? So this movie, I've seen this movie several times as part of Mystery Science Theater 3000. This was my first time ever watching it. Not in Mystery Science Theater 3000s. There was a lot of new scenes for me and also not having jokes. This is what Bill Corbett, one of the performers and writers of Mystery Science Theater, said about this movie. It's the kind of movie that seems to hate you, to wish you active harm, to kick sand in your eyes and make you cry. And for me, this is personified by Mr. Charles B. Pierce, who is apparently responsible for every single aspect, every nanosecond of this cruel and unusual bit of celluloid. He chose to write and play a grim, hostile, condescending know-it-all of a man, a character who's proven superior to everyone else in the story again and again, who drills his lousy, stinking voiceover narrative into our heads every freaking minute of this film, and who then has the temerity to wrap this movie up suggesting his sour Nazi of a character is really an ecological servant of God.
Yes, I read that.
That's pretty much the character. His son, Chuck Pierce Jr., plays his prize student, Tim Thornton.
His real life son.
His real life son. Doesn't play son in the movie. This guy can't keep his shirt on.
Nope.
It's like definitely the guy was saying, like, you're a sex symbol. This guy needs to eat a sandwich and then eat another sandwich. They grow some fucking chest hair.
I call him Shirtless Tim.
He sucks. I hated that guy. Then there was Serene Hedden. No, Tim, you said it correctly, but they call her Tanya.
Yeah, they say Tanya.
Tanya Yazzie. I have to say,
Tanya Yazzie.
Surprisingly attractive woman. Like,
she
did a few other movies. I'm like, this woman, and this is the thing, this movie better than the average Seti Bimco fare. This woman had some real star power. Very like in a very 80s looking sort of way. I'm like, wow, she's very attractive. And actually the other woman was also very attractive.
They stuck them both in cutoff shorts, and we got like shots of their butts multiple times.
Yeah, but not just them. Everyone, all four main characters. Oh, Cindy Butler plays Leslie Ann Walker. She's like the skeptic.
She hates everything.
She hates everything. She's like, there's funny scenes with her. You will see if you want to see all four of these, and like the most Daisy Duke of Daisy Dukes, including Charles B. Pierce with his little chicken legs. Like, there's definitely scenes you could see the side of his scrotum because like the shorts are so short. So yeah, it opens up. We're at the University of Arkansas.
Yeah, football game.
Yeah, they're watching a football game. We see Charles B. Pierce by himself pumping his fist going, yeah, football. We see the two girls next to each other. He looks at them in a weird way, which I'm like, that's unsettling.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, his maybe the only scene in the entire movie is wearing a shirt. His son is answering the phone. He's like, yes, I'll tell the professor.
Yeah.
We never hear the conversation, but the sheriff of Fook calls the professor of anthropology, played by Charles B. Pierce, the director, that there's been more sightings of the legendary Fook monster, a.k.a. the Beast of Boggy Creek.
Fook.
And this, who, what?
Fook.
Did I say it weird?
No.
Oh. And that is the gist of the movie. This does not follow a 3-act structure. This does not follow an any-act structure. This is a movie. I could see why Mystery Science Theater did it, because it was very easy to move chunks of this movie and never have them.
Right.
Nothing. It's a series of weird vignettes with occasional recreations.
Tim knows where his professor's sitting in the football game, and he runs through the whole stadium to get him out of the football game because he's got to go see the Fook monster.
Yeah, let's go. Again, another professor of anthropology. Just this guy I hope he doesn't have tenure.
He's got like 3 friends.
Yep.
Those 2 girls and
those 2 girls.
Shirtless Tim.
The 2 shockingly attractive girls. His son, who he's trying to make a sex symbol, but it's not going to happen because this guy is.
Yeah, he's
deficient.
Not even. It's okay if he's asexual, but it's odd for this movie. He's asexual. He's like.
He is it, and you know what's funny?
He never
Tim?
looks at those girls.
Yeah, I thought for sure there'd be like a plot where like there's some hint, like he's with these 2 like objectively very attractive women, And like he's clearly being played to the cameras. Like this guy has so many shots of him removing his shirt, showing off his sunken hairless chest. Like Charles B. Pierce is like, my son's gonna be a sex symbol, but there's no hint.
Nope.
There's no I mean, it's like I don't even know if he has a scene with any of those girls.
Maybe he was jealous. He was like, nope, these girls are mine. I mean, in real life, he wasn't going to let him act with them.
There is a scene I will draw attention to.
Oh yeah. So
that's the setup.
Yeah, they just get in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Their Jeep. They have a Jeep, and they head out.
Jeep. Yep, a Jeep and a trail
and a trailer
camper
somehow. Yeah. And they go to this town, and they stop at a gas station.
Which, to hear the narration by Charles B. Pierce, you would think Arkansas was like the most hidden like recesses of the Congo or something. It's like he refers to it multiple times as like one of the last wildernesses. I'm like, it's fucking Arkansas. Granted, it's pretty. There's wilds to be found, especially in the 80s. But like, come on, it's not like it's not like there's giant fucking ape people walking around there, or is there?
That they go to Exxon, and this is one of those Exxon stations where he goes inside and like there's old men playing cards, reading the paper, drinking coffee, and he announces he's there to look for a monster.
Man, that scene is funny, right? That scene. Like, do you want to talk us through that one?
Yeah, there ain't no monsters around here unless you're looking for Grimace. Remember he said that? But that's basically what they're like. They laughed at him.
What I should mention, Charles B. Pierce, the director, he casts these movies. He put his friends, he had a few real actors in this, but he would hang out at gas stations in Arkansas and cast people who showed up at the gas station. So this is clearly people. Yeah, I was reading this. So he would just find locals. These were clearly locals. And the locals basically are like, y'all a city boy. We all know there ain't no monster out hereabouts. And like they're mocking this professor who's like as you may have hinted from what I read earlier, he casts himself as the ultimate know-it-all badass.
Right.
And like he pays for the gas. He's like, I'm gonna go get this monster. They're like, ain't no monster here, you dumb city boy. And after they leave, like these worst extras, these fucking yokels, like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we got a monkey suit and surprised him? And then Charles Pierce walks back in. You know, I am a city boy, and I am scared of that monster. And if I were to see that monster, I'd probably blow him away with my guns.
Yes.
And they're all like, well, maybe we won't go out and surprise you.
You got guns?
There's a lot of guns in this movie. A shocking amount of guns.
And the one old man reading the newspaper, he's like, my favorite comic strip, Motley Crue's been canceled, and they replaced it with this new Calvin and Hobbes thing.
Is the tiger alive? Is the tiger not alive? I don't even know. What happened to Marmaduke? I want to read about a big dog.
No, I'm sorry. He was upset Lockhorns was canceled.
No, Tim, Lockhorns has never been canceled. That thing, the original Bill Host died like 30 years ago. That shit's still going strong.
It is.
A good comic strip will die. Lockhart's never dies.
Lockhart's?
Lockhart's. Is that called Lockhorns?
The Lockhorns.
What the fuck is Lockhart's?
That's the whole premise, George. They're a married
Lockhorns,
couple. They hate each other.
For those of you who don't know, because you're not 90 like Tim and I, it was a comic strip about two people who hated each other. Leroy Lockhorn is always cheating on his wife. His wife is a shrill harridan, and that's the funniness.
When I got the funny pages on Sunday as a kid, I'd read Peanuts and I'd read all the other good ones. Then I'd go back through and I'd be like, well, what didn't I read? The last one always. I'm like, okay, I haven't read the Lockhorns. Let's see how much.
I like the way that he drew shoes. I look at he drew good shoes that episode.
I can't remember.
Right. Yeah.
I just remember he was hunched over. Right? He was hunched over. His underwear was showing.
Oh,
he was always had a little bit of vomit on his shirt. Anyway.
Oh no, Tim, that was the mirror.
Yeah. So they visit a farm.
Before that, I just want to mention they find roadkill.
Oh yeah, they're like
they make a big scene that they just find a deer at the side of the road, and like you would think they found like the corpse of JFK. They make such a big deal. It's a fucking deer. Like a car hit it. He's like, "Where's the car then?"
I know.
It
looks like a grimace chewed on his neck there.
Yeah, he's like, looks like a purple shake monster was chewing on its hindquarters, Pa. Put your shirt on, son. because
Nobody
the
stops
son
for a
did-
dead deer.
No, and they drag it to the side of the road so the cars
They
can hit it. And the
touch it.
women, the girl folk, because this is a sexist movie. You're watching
Oh
the
yeah,
car like,
so sexist.
what's going on? Yeah, it's very sexist. Oh, these women are not given any wins in this movie. Let me tell you.
No, they're not.
Anytime you were put opposed to the hero of this movie, the director Charles B. Pierce, you will be shown up in a way that it shows how wrong and degraded you are. You might as well live in Florida, as far as this guy's concerned.
It's like, stand back. It's a dead deer.
So then they go.
We'll deal
Is
with
that
it.
when they? Oh no! Before we get to the farms, Tim, there is a scene that I think is important to mention because you actually texted me about this. They make their camp. They set up their headquarters.
Oh yeah. I know.
And the shirtless boy is drawing a picture of what he thinks the Fook monster would look like, the Boggy Creek monster.
Not
And
only
it's like your typical Bigfoot.
Yeah. Not only is he seemed to be asexual, he's a nerdy artist. So
Oh my God. Tim, wait. Do we hate him because he was us?
probably because he drew a pretty good picture of Sasquatch.
It was pretty good. I would say this. All right. I was a nerd. I just not at his age. I wouldn't have been very successful with ladies. I would at least tried. You kidding me? If I was out there with Tanya, I'd be like, Tanya, hey, how's it going? She's like, get away from me, you creep. Like, all right, I'll go. He doesn't try ever.
Nope.
But he shows the picture of this ape person to Tanya and
This was him trying. Leslie.
Cindy. Oh, you're right. Because he does make a funny. He goes, which was like the only bit of character he shows.
You didn't see, but the pages unfolded, and he had drawn the whole Sasquatch body with a, with the big.
It was like a centerfold. Yeah, there was just a big dong
Look at
that
that.
came out.
Look at
I was
that.
like,
What do you
"Hey,
think?"
Circumcised. Don't we think he's Jewish? And
Still didn't work.
and Cindy, the one woman, she's like, oh my God, we're going to see. That's like, wait, you went on this whole fucking expedition and you're going to see a Bigfoot? Leslie.
It's Leslie.
Cindy's the real actress.
Tanya.
You're right. Tanya. And Tanya's like, I don't know. I think he's sexy.
I know.
So Tanya, it's a fucking bestiality, you dirty girl. That's a fucking ape.
You know why I texted you?
Because
I have the top 3 reasons why Tanya thinks Sasquatch is hot.
let's hear it. Perfect space for it.
Number 1,
All right.
she used to date Ernest Borgnine back when he refused to shave all of his body.
Oh, man. And he was probably only like 98 back then.
Yeah. Second reason, she was once miniaturized by her dermatology professor, and they spent a week camping in Tom Selleck's mustache. There you go.
Dermatology?
The third reason, near the end of that week in Tom Selleck's mustache, Tom and Robin Williams did a lot of coke at the Popeye rap party.
Wow.
And she spent another 2 weeks lost in Robin Williams' chest hair. There you go.
Wow. That's right.
They did a lot of coke on Popeye.
A lot of that would explain. I love that movie. I just want to emphasize to everybody too. Like, look up like this woman Tanya is like kind of a knockout. So her talking about like finding this monkey man attractive was like upsetting.
Yeah.
I was like, did she just move you off? I feel weird. All right. So then we get to
they're back on the road.
They get back and they go to a abandoned farmhouse. And they're just like, it's an abandoned farmhouse. Let's get out and look at it. Because apparently Arkansas is full of these. There's dialogue to that effect.
And the professor is always like, Tim, go knock on the door. We'll wait here. Like twice he does that.
Yeah.
What does this professor know that we don't?
He's like, he looks at the people. He's like, clearly these 2 women will be missed. Tim, nah. This guy, Tim is probably like a feral dog. Not Tim, my co-host.
No.
Tim, the character,
Shirtless
his
Tim.
actual
Call him
son.
Shirtless Tim.
Shirtless Tim is like, that guy definitely lives in an alley adjacent to, like, that guy's, he's not, nobody loves him.
He wasn't bad looking, but yeah.
He wasn't good looking either. He was... All right, so much the same way Shirtless Tim, we see him drawing a hypothetical picture of what the ape man looks like.
Yes.
If you went to an ape man and said, draw a hypothetical picture of what a person looks like, it would draw like a Shirtless Tim. He was like, he was on the cusp of the uncanny valley. Like, he was almost not human. He was just...
If he went missing, they just call the police, and the police would be like, well how's it? All his clothes are here. He never wears a shirt anyway.
There's no identifying characteristics. They'd be like, they'd take him a sketch artist. It's like, yeah, he's got like a nose, I guess.
His 2 eyes.
Yeah, I think.
No chest
Did he
hair.
have a mouth?
Hey,
bro, did Shirtless Tim have a mouth?
Did Shirtless Tim have an innie or an outie?
So they go to this house. Shirtless Tim goes up and knocks on the door. And the girls are wondering, I don't know what the girls are doing. But suddenly Shirtless Tim is like, it's a mad dog.
No,
this scene was...
No, wait.
Oh, this...
No, this is the farm where he asked permission, and he says, they told us to go ahead and look around. Isn't that the first place they go?
So they go to a house where a farmer...
Yeah.
This is the first recreation we see of an actual encounter with the Boggy Creek monster. Where they're in a barn, where a farmer went looking for his cows. He didn't see his cows, but he saw the monster.
Yeah, that the cow...
That's it.
Well, he wrote a song called Who Let the Cows Out? And later on...
Hoot. Wait, it's moot, moot, moot. Yeah. Oh,
later
why are we
on,
doing this? What hacks?
the Baja Men ripped it off, and they changed the lyrics a little bit.
But that's the whole event. It's just he sees... I will say this, Tim, and I think you'll agree with me.
Yeah.
We have watched like maybe 5 or 6 films with Yetis or Sasquatches in it. This is by far the best costume we've seen.
Yeah.
Like we see it silhouetted. It's staying in the doorway. It's like got its head tilted. It's got like an actual face that kind of moves. It's breathing. You can see the mist. It's like we've seen like, I mean, the low point I think is so far the monster we saw in Shrieks of the Mutilated, where it's like just a dude wearing a shaggy dog costume. Yes. You can see cuffs. This was good costume.
It was. And Tim was standing where the professor's like, well, Tim, I think Sasquatch was standing right where you are, or the creature. And Tim's like, oh no. And he's like, I don't want to stand where Sasquatch was standing.
I want to stand where it did 20 years before.
Yeah, 20 years before.
Yeah. He mentioned it's like, what do you think? It's still around 20 years later?
He jumps like there's a spider there.
Yeah, he sucks.
It's because
then there is another scene.
He once stood where Eric Trump stood, and he ended up stepping in Eric's dirty diaper. So,
oh wow! And it's just laying there all this time. Yes. What is all right?
20 years.
Side question: Eric Trump has, as he often does, befouled himself. The sheer weight of it has whisked his diaper down around his ankles.
Yes.
What discernible materials are evident in Eric Trump's scat?
What?
Like, is there chunks of peanut, bits of masonry?
Peanut M&Ms.
A human finger bone.
Just peanut.
Are they chewed up or swallowed whole?
He pours milk on them in the morning. That's the only difference.
Oh, that explains so much about that guy. Then there is a separate scene where they stop at another farmer house just for whatever. This was like clearly an attempt to add action.
Yes.
Where they're attacked by a mad dog.
Yeah,
this was the most unnecessary and frankly not kind of upsetting scene.
It was.
Yeah, where like it's a dog that they put like an Alka-Seltzer mouth, so it was foaming. It's like trying to attack them. They're in this house. The professor, this was hilarious to me.
And he's a professor, but they're still like, mad dog. I don't know what rabies are, but it's a mad dog.
And the professor, like this, he's wearing the shortest of short shorts. Like I said, you could definitely see side skirt.
Yes.
Like he's got his little pot belly hanging over his pants. He's got like a little beard. He's just like a little doughy little guy. And he's pulling out this gun. He's like firing it through the floor at the dog underneath it. He kills.
I know.
Oh, it's sad.
And they don't
this
kill
was
it.
Not
They're
a
like,
scene.
is it dead? And he goes, well, it will be. It'll bleed out.
And then we see a scene of the dog bleeding out on the floor. I'm like, do I need to see this in my Bigfoot movie? Yeah. It was unnecessary. And actually, if I recall correctly, Mystery Science Theater wisely cut that point out.
Oh, really?
And Tim, I want to ask you, did that like turn you against this movie? Because you, spoilers, didn't like this movie.
No. I kind of enjoyed the weirdness of it.
Okay.
I never liked.
I thought that scene,
no one likes to see dogs die in movies, so it's just,
no. I'm just like, why would you put that in?
Just to add some action. There's no action really in this movie. Not much.
No.
There's a video game later, but we'll get to it.
Well, that's the next scene.
Oh, okay.
So they go back to the camp. Oh no! First we hear about Otis Tucker.
Otis Tucker.
Which I feel like is the second most Tim Hamilton-y name in here. We'll address the lighter guy who's like definitely a character Tim made up. Otis Tucker is a guy who had a blowout on the road and was fixing the blowout. He's fixing it, his tire, yes, I should mention, his tire blew out in his pickup. And while he's fixing it, the monster comes and kills him. But there's no witnesses.
I know.
There's no.
No, doesn't he go into a coma? He gets so scared.
He never wakes up in the coma.
I know, never wakes up. And
he has a bruise on his head, and there's no evidence. I'm like, why do you assume? Why is this being? I'll tell you why. Because here's my theory.
Okay.
I feel like in an attempt to be as true to the original as he could, I feel like he was Charles Pierce, or is that his name?
I just call him Professor.
Yes, Charles Pierce, the director I'm talking about, though,
right.
was trying to actually reenact quote-unquote real accounts of this monster.
Right.
And he'd used all the good ones in the first movie. So this one he's like, yeah, guy died, and yeah, why not? Monster killed him. So you're like left like, if nobody saw this and he never woke up and spoke again, Why do you assume it's a monster?
Yeah.
It could have been like
They should have added a footprint
fucking
at
brain
least.
embolism. Yeah, nothing. They're just like,
Sto-
well, he wasn't found on the road.
Stowe's
Something
Happy
dragged him
Meal?
off. He just had a purple Grimace shake spilled on his crotch. Then there's the computer scene. This was great.
Yeah, this computer was like radar. He never explains how it works, actually, but
Nope. Well, they said, can I write down the line I recorded?
sure.
They're like, will this machine be able? This is the character of Leslie,
Tanya?
the skeptic.
Oh, Leslie.
Leslie is like, will this machine be able to tell us when the monster's approaching? And this is a direct quote from the professor. Depends on how sensitive we set these sensitors.
Yeah, I know.
That's not a word. So basically, he's able to this is like picture like a ColecoVision computer from like 1984. Like this thing has like
This is more like
15
Pong.
RAM. Yeah, this wouldn't even play Pong. And it's got like a series of concentric circles on the screen, and he's able to very quickly set this thing to like determine how many pounds a thing weighs. He's like, he's like, Tanya weighs 110 pounds.
That's like, ooh.
And my sunken chested bare skin
Shirtless
son,
Tim.
he probably weighs like 60 pounds.
Unless you put a shirt
Let's
on
set
him.
anything over 300 pounds. Well, like he's able to track anything coming towards them. So they're tracking first Tanya. I hate saying it that way.
Leslie.
Tanya and shirtless Tim. But then they set it for between 350 and 400. Like, there's something else out
I know,
there.
it's chasing them. It's like Alien.
It's like that scene in Aliens.
Alien.
Yeah.
This is after
Aliens.
Alien. Oh, Aliens.
Yeah, Aliens. Yeah, the sequel.
This is before
It's like that.
Aliens. Oh,
It is. Oh, shit. Do you think James Cameron was watching this? Is like,
yes.
that's a good fucking idea.
He
You
made
know what
it
else
back.
is a good idea?
He took
A movie about blue people.
Oh no.
Yeah. So we have
So-
the close call with the sensitors.
They run.
It
Well, they
doesn't
run
recover
back.
anything.
Yeah, and Tanya's
Yeah, they
like,
run back.
"Where's my makeup?" Tanya's always like, "Did you take my makeup?"
No, not Tanya. Leslie.
Leslie. Sorry.
Tanya
Leslie's
is the cool
obvious.
chick. Tanya's groovy.
Yes.
She's all like into this. She's the star pupil, we're told.
And none of them
But-
smoke pot either. They're all like,
No.
"What's there to do out here? Where's my makeup?"
Holy shit. Tim, that just did you catch the scene? So Leslie is there as the friend of Tanya.
Okay.
Oh, I hate saying Tanya.
Tanya.
Do you catch a scene where they're at camp early on where we just look in the window and we see Tanya getting dressed? We see her pulling up her
The
pants.
professor's looking at
And
it.
the professor's just staring at her and he like sniffs his arm. What was that about?
I don't
Like,
know.
what is that? I was very disturbed by that. And I just want sidebar to say to everybody, I feel like this was a kind of horny movie.
Yeah, even though there's no nudity,
There's no nudity, but like there is
a lot of butts with the cutoff jeans.
a lot of cutoff jeans. Like he definitely he chose, especially for an 80s film, he found two atypically attractive actresses for that time period. And has a lot of lingering shots of them. And then there's the weird scene at the beach on the lake or the river later, where there's a lot of bathing suit shots.
And the
Couple that
professor
with his
also
fucking-
checks out the teenage girls sitting on the beach.
Yeah, he does. Fucking dirty old man. Very. And then there's all the weird stuff with his son being all shirtless and
Yeah.
just
Anyway.
no secondary sex characteristics at all in that guy. Just like,
We're never going to get through this.
no, we're not.
So the lights go out just as the Bigfoot is getting close, and they get and they're like, "Oh my god, we need gas for a generator." It just happened to go out just now.
That's a separate scene.
Shirtless
Like, it's
Tim.
later that night.
No, isn't
Yeah.
that the same time? They all run back.
No, because the first part was at the daytime, and there's the joke where they're like, "Did Tim not make it back?" Shirtless Tim, and then they open the door and he's there going, "Boo!" Because he had no idea what was going on.
Right.
Then it's that night, and it happens again.
Gotcha.
And yeah, these fucking boneheads didn't fill up the gas in their generator, so there's a scene fraught with peril where the women are cowering inside because of course they are.
Yeah, stay inside.
And shirtless Tim and the professor outside pouring gasoline
Everywhere.
all over the place. Just not going in. Oh, the generator they didn't fill because they're bad at everything. But that's our first glimpse we see of them getting a glimpse of the monster.
Yep. He's
Like
terrified.
I said, pretty good costume. Yep.
Yeah. We just
He makes faces, but Tim, my notes, you're not going to like this, but I wrote it down anyway. He makes a face that is like what I imagine your face was when your dog pooped that ice cream cone.
You're right.
It's so incredulous.
Exactly.
He's like, he shakes his head, go, whoa, what? He shoots the monster with the tranquilizer dart. The monster just pulls it out. It's nothing.
Because he's supernatural.
Yeah, because he's
Yeah,
got
I don't know.
power. All right, let's cut through this
Brief,
quickly.
George.
Okay.
It's
all
pronounced
All right.
Tanya.
Tanya. I hate it. I'm going to say Tanya, but I'm going to say Tanya too because I already trained myself. So then we get a side story because they're all very stressed after this encounter.
Well, this is my favorite side story. He's
I
like,
knew you'd love this one.
we got a long trip, and you guys still got no pot to smoke. Oh, he doesn't talk like that. But
He kind of does.
But they're like, we're bored. Are we there yet? I'm like, you guys are what, 19, 20?
Who knows how old they
Aren't you
are?
drinking a beer, smoking some pot?
So this guy, this is another recreation. His
Yes.
name is Oscar Callpotter.
Call Potter.
And
It's
the
pronounced
scene
Call
starts
Potter.
off. He walks in and he's like, just picture the most stereotypical redneck you can find. He's like, no, actually, most stereotypical rednecks at the end of this
He's
movie.
coming up, yeah.
He's second most stereotypical redneck, and he's like, "Honey, where's the Sears Roebuck catalog?"
No, he's like,
she's like,
honey, I need it quick. Honey, I need my Sears catalog.
she's like, why are you making a big mess of the house? He's like,
Yeah, take it.
better than me making a mess of my pants. She's like, all right, let me just talk about his wife. Is this woman who has like bits of toilet paper in her hair? She was dirty.
But she was watching TV, wasn't she? They have an
Yeah,
outhouse,
which
yet she's watching
None
TV.
of this. I have some problems with this whole setup. So he grabs the Sears Roebuck catalog because this is like what 1800. No,
Yes.
she's watching TV with rollers in her hair. Oscar Callpotter runs out to this outhouse. We literally hear farting noises, which I was shocked.
And he's looking at pictures of ladies in their underwear and their bras. Because it's 1985 or 4.
Yep.
He's like, last
But
time I saw
they're
naked ladies,
old-timey
I had to
pictures,
pay
yeah.
$2 to see Porky's.
And the monster's hand comes in and he gets all scared and he hides from the monster by dropping into the outhouse.
Stepping in it.
Stepping in it, yeah. So he's sitting in shit.
Yep.
And he's screaming, and his wife with the toilet paper hair comes right down. She's like, Oscar, Oscar. And she runs out, and the monster's gone. He's yelling, these damn cows won't leave me alone because he thinks this is cows for part of it.
Because the cows got let out.
Yeah.
Who let these
So-
cows out?
Who let the cows out? Hoot, moo, moo, moo. So then we are treated to a scene of Oscar Callpotter sitting there while his wife hoses him down
Like,
because he's covered with shit from the waist
with
down.
his pants still on. I would take those pants
Okay.
off.
Yeah, actually, why? Because
He's in the woods.
Well, and the best part is they cut back to the professor telling the story, and
they're
he
all-
drops the bit. He's a retired attorney.
Who?
I'm like, this guy was
yeah.
Oscar
Oscar
Callpotter.
Callpotter.
This guy, the most trashy of trash people, was like an attorney who shit in an outhouse with the Sears Roebuck catalog as toilet paper.
I know.
What the fuck sort of cases did he?
Oh, I'll tell
see?
you what cases. He's going to take those
Yeah, let's
pants
see.
off. He's going to send them back to Jordache jeans. He's going to say,
Oh man, these are not Jordache.
these jeans. You sent me these jeans. They got they got manure all through them. I demand a
These
free
jeans-
refund and 5 more pair. And
We
they'll
can't
send
help
them.
but notice all the manure is spotlighted in the spot where it actually have come out of your body. I'm not on trial here. Ugh.
That
So
was
yeah, retired attorney who shits in a fucking outhouse. Like this is what we're dealing with here, folks.
I'm not an attorney. You almost did a Mr. Furley. You almost did a Mr. Furley there. I'm not
Oh, I
on
wouldn't
trial
even-
here. I don't know.
Oh,
I
I
can't
didn't
do
know.
it. I can't do it.
I don't have a good memory
Don
of that
Knotts. You were doing Don Knotts.
show. Don Knotts. Oh, he was a Mr. Furley. Wasn't Mr. Furley the first guy?
No, that's the second guy.
Wasn't he Mr. Knotts?
He was Mr. Knotts.
Mr. Knotts. He just played himself. He was confused. He had like problems at that point. So then we finally meet the deputy who was the deputy of the sheriff who called. And the deputy tells a story where he was fishing.
Wait a minute.
He caught back to his
Can I
home.
back
Yeah.
up?
Yeah.
They walk into a diner, and on the diner's
Uh-huh.
front table is the biggest watermelon. And I just wonder if you
Oh,
noticed
I missed that part.
I just
No, I
like
didn't.
just a watermelon, the giant watermelon.
Just sitting there.
And they
Was it being served or was it
No.
like were they?
They didn't comment on it. I just wondered why it was there.
Do you think it was a customer?
It might have been a grimace egg. I don't know.
Maybe. No. All right. So when a grimace is laid, is it all? Are there 13 that come from one egg, or is there 13 eggs laid around? They have to find each other and battle.
No,
like
they're all
Highlander?
together, so they eat.
Okay.
Because once
All right.
once Grimace ate all his siblings, the next stage of develop.
Well, he shits them out as hamburger patties.
No,
right?
no. His next stage is he
Oh.
eats himself into a dead pig, and he ferments. He gestates for another week.
Okay.
And
Uh-huh.
when this Grimace that we know from McDonald's, when he burrowed into that pig, he said, "I thought They smell bad on the outside. Gotcha.
God, show's over, everybody.
Gotcha, George.
All right, back to the Boggy Creek too. They meet with the deputy who worked for the sheriff. He tells him a story about how he went fishing.
He's Deputy
he brought
Skid,
the
by the
fish
way,
back.
right?
I wrote Deputy Williams, but his first name might have been Skid.
Okay.
Skid Williams. Let's say
Skid.
Deputy Skid Williams.
Deputy Skid.
He brings this fish to his side yard. His wife's like, "Don't bring that stinky fish in here." And he gets attacked by a little tiny. This is key, everybody. A little tiny Bigfoot.
Same. You know who played him?
It attacks him.
The guy who played the flying Ewok. The guy who played it in Addams Family.
Scylla?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yes, it was, George.
All right.
I'm messing up.
The flying.
You're believing me, and I'm like,
yeah. Yes, and Tim. So he throws this little monkey boy off him, and then the monkey boy grabs his fish and walks with the big monkey boy.
Yep.
And he's like, "It's a little one, huh?" And that's everything that's important for the plot.
For your plot. And this plot.
All the plots, yeah. And he mentions you should talk to, this is the character who is the most Tim Hamilton named character that's ever appeared in the show and ever will.
What, the last?
Tim, you want to say his name?
The last character?
Well, the sheriff tells him to go see this last guy.
Yeah. Oh, we just.
And what this guy's name is?
Crenshaw.
Old Man Crenshaw.
Old Man Crenshaw.
Who I'm pretty sure you've actually said that exact name before.
Yes.
Like, that's definitely one of the characters you come up with.
This isn't super important, but when you said the girls get no breaks, we skipped some stuff. The girls try to escape in their Jeep.
I was getting up to that part because they go out the next day. They serve a dinner of
I don't know what
bologna sandwiches with pork and beans.
And everybody's
the guy's
like, damn it.
Oh, one of my favorites.
Oh, it is.
The boys go off and do something, and the girls are left at home, and they get
shirtless
degraded.
Tim was like, "That's my favorite meal." Is that what he said?
No, the Pref says that. He goes, "My favorite meal." I'm like, "Oh, Pref, you dirty fucking pig." Bologna sandwiches and pork and beans.
Shirtless Tim was like, I ate my shirt.
Wait, was I not supposed to eat my shirt? If I get confused.
So
they go off and they're looking for blood samples or something. And they leave the two girls alone. And the one girl, Leslie, who is like the skeptic, she's like, "I want to go into town and eat real food that's not bologna sandwiches and talk to boys.
I want to buy some makeup."
And and blush. She wants to buy blush. And she convinces Tanya to go with her. They take a Jeep. And because they're just lowly women, they get stuck in the mud.
Lost.
They become instantly wet. And they are wet for the rest of the scene. I don't know why they are so damp, except for it's clearly because it's sexy. So they have like running eye makeup and they're damp and their clothes is clinging to them. And they keep falling in mud and the monkey man comes after them maybe. And they come back and it's just stupid and pointless. It's like 15 minutes of this. But if your particular fetish, like Charles B. Fierce, is wet, muddy women being hapless, this does it for you.
They should have taken a note from Tim and taken their shirt off. Just to be cool.
I am kind of shocked that there's not.
Yeah, so shocked.
I wouldn't even think there would be a full-on topless scene. We get kind of the scene of Leslie pulling her pants up from behind. Mm-hmm. We see her panties. I'm truly surprised there's not a scene of like Tanya like pulling her shirt on from behind.
Well, you said how he got people to be in his movies, so they were probably like, "Yeah, I'll do it, but I'm not taking my shirt off."
She had a few acting things. It seems like it may be a couple of real movies.
Yeah.
So she was probably like, "Nah, fuck you. I'm not taking my shirt off your Monkey Man movie." Yeah.
Did you do extensive research? What's her name? Did you type her name in plus naked?
I wrote down all the characters.
You texted me that you typed her name in plus naked on Google.
I wrote in, her name is Serene Hedden. I wrote Serene Hedden nude. Then I wrote in Cindy Butler nude. Then I wrote in Chuck Pierce Jr. nude. And then finally, Charles B. Pierce nude. Boy, let me tell you. Folks.
The hard thing to find is Tim. You type in Tim with shirt on. Can't find any pictures.
Man, actually, if you type that guy in, there's a funny picture that comes up as the first picture of him, like this toothless old vagrant that I'm pretty sure is not him.
Oh.
But like Google has believed it's him.
That's sad.
Cut to the short. There's a scene where they have to get a boat to go see Old Man Crenshaw.
It's a whole
adventure. Do a whole Jaws spoof song.
Yeah.
Which
that's where they go to the so-called beach. Mask. Rivers don't have beaches, people. Beach. Rivers don't have beaches. You're going to the river to swim. You're not going to
But there was sand. Somebody brought sand.
Yeah, there were teenage girls.
There's a lot of lingering shots.
The professor's like,
ooh,
check out the teenage girls.
Yeah. Ooh, look. So you get to see like the height of skimpy 80s swimwear in Arkansas. They get a boat from this guy.
Saw an ankle.
They go down the boat and we meet Old Man Crenshaw, who is the most stereotypical hillbilly you've ever seen in a movie. He's just wearing overalls. They're attached on one side.
Yes.
It's hanging open to his belly. He's got like a weird
He's almost
rag tied around his head.
He's shirtless Tim in the future because he's got no shirt.
Well, Tim, there is the weird scene.
And he wears what looks like a worn out elastic band from underwear around his head, right?
Around his head. Well, because there's a lot of 80s fashions going. The part that I thought was really funny, they're waiting at his house and the one girl, Leslie, is like, that goat might be mad. And they just show a goat going, Rah.
I know. I was just going to say, it's like mad goat.
The mad goat. When Old Man Crenshaw walks up, he's on his shirt. This is one of the few scenes where shirtless Tim has his shirt on. Yes, he takes his shirt off. Yeah. And I cannot stress enough what an unimposing physical specimen this guy is. I had more muscular definition at like 10 and more body hair.
Yes.
Like he's such a weird little asexual prepubescent. It's like, put your shirt back on.
So their conversation is hard to recap because he's like, you come down the river to study a man. If you're going to study me, you better be prepared to stay a few weeks. I'm like, I don't know what's that mean?
And there's a big rainstorm coming, but they can't go back in the water because lightning hits the water.
Well, he's always running off. He goes, I better tend to my fires.
Yeah, Old Man Crenshaw's got to tend to his fires.
He's always tending to fires.
The professor's like, have you noticed how long those fires have been burning? There's ash everywhere. He's been burning for weeks. And Old Man Crenshaw's throwing gasoline on these big piles of sticks, which are clearly not lit, and just keeps staring at the wood line. Like, you're like, oh.
Yes, we can figure it out for ourselves.
Yeah.
And also, important point.
Uh-huh.
When Crenshaw's talking to them, he offers all of them some jaw tobacco. And Tanya takes some, like, yep, I can take it. Tanya
takes it.
Tanya takes it.
Vomits.
And he's no, but first she's chewing it, and he's like, she's wife material.
No, he keeps saying that's a good quality woman. He says something creepy a couple times.
Man, I wrote it down.
Oh, you did? Good.
What did he say? He said, Lord have mercy, she's a lady I would marry. That's what he says.
Does he really say that?
God, maybe you come on down the river and live in my shack. Every Friday night I put on a play about Samuel Clemens, and you know what?
Oh no!
Some people know him as Mark Twain.
Wait, and what does Mark Twain mean, Samuel Clemens?
Well, Mark Twain is a measurement of how far I run to oh Lord, I got to check on my fires.
That was terrible.
I got to tend to the fires.
Tim, I gotta say, Old Man Crenshaw's impersonation of Samuel Clemens sounds awfully suspicious to yours. Also, we didn't mention this. He walks up carrying moonshine too.
Oh yeah,
like this guy might as well be playing a jug
and a gun.
And he has a gun, which he does turn on the professor briefly. So basically, here, this is cut to the short. He's like, "You're a doctor," and the professor's like, "Not that sort of doctor. I'm a doctor of anthropology who believes in Bigfoot."
But you play doctor?
Like, maybe you can patch people up.
Can you play doctor? Anyway.
Can you play doctor? I got a prostate that needs milking. That doesn't happen, everybody. What does happen, the reason he's writing these fires, is Old Man Crenshaw, in a bear trap, has caught the baby monster. Yep. So we see the monster clearly. It's nearly dying because he's been watching it. He lights the fires every night to keep the mama or dada, we're never really sure, monster away. Yes. And he wants to save it. And there's a whole big tent showdown.
Oh, because he wants to make money. He's telling the professor.
He wants to make money.
Make some money?
And the professor's like, we got to... And the monster's breaking in the house. And Leslie's screaming. And Tanya and shirtless Tim are there with them. And then the professor picks up the wounded baby. And he's like, I know you can't understand me, big fook monster. But here's your baby. Please don't kill us all.
He bursts the door open, I should say, just like in The Shining. And he's just standing there in the broken door.
He does. And then he takes an axe and he kills Scatman Crothers. It's really weird. And the monster carries off the baby. And then the next morning...
Well, Crenshaw wants to shoot him, and our hero is the professor. He's like, you put that gun down. You're not shooting that Sasquatch.
Yeah. The hero is like, he's the only good person. You know, he's always right. But then, the next morning, they're all leaving. And Old Man Crenshaw's learned his lesson. I wrote this down. Well, boy, he's addressing the professor. You were right about one thing. And the professor goes, how's that? And then Old Man Crenshaw speaks again. And that thing, speaking of the monster, ought to be left alone, to remain free and live in the wild.
And he says, he adds, and Tim, never put your shirt on.
Because
He
Tim,
puts his fist in the air.
a hairless sunken chest like yours needs to be shared with the world.
That is the
Let
end.
them nips fly free. And then he tweaks his nipples and goes, woohoo, and runs in circles.
We got to get to revenge because it's an hour. Wherever you are, wherever you're hiding, I'll find you. I'll get you. I'll get you.
Revenge.
I'll get you.
Revenge.
Revenge. One of us will die. One of us will die.
I will not let Cindy take my place. I will have my revenge.
We ad-libbed the wild card question.
Yep.
And it was who from this movie is most likely to be a superhero. I'm going to throw out.
I know who it's got to be. It's got to be
Crenshaw.
Shirtless Tim.
Oh, Shirtless Tim.
Shirtless Tim, man. He's Shirtless Man.
Really? But what power would he have?
Well, he takes inspiration. Most superheroes famously created, especially at that time period, they wore their underwear on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I'll do you one better. I won't even wear underwear. I'm going to be completely bare-chested.
True. And I know how he got his superpowers. He was in the lab in Arkansas.
Yeah.
It was just a radiation experiment. And he was standing.
He was bitten by a radioactive professor?
No, he was standing near the radiation isotopes.
Is that why all his chest hair fell out?
Yeah. Well, but he was standing near it. And professor said, one night there was a ghost in here. It was right where you're standing. And he goes, whoa, I don't want to stand where a ghost was standing. And he jumps into the radioactive isotopes. And he becomes Shirtless Tim. Shirtless Tim Man. That's no good. Come on. Help me out.
Shirtless Man.
Oh, he becomes Captain Underpants. And then later on, someone else rips off that idea for a children's book.
His son, Dave Pilkey.
Yes.
AKA the creator of Captain Underpants and Dogman, creates a story about his grand old pa.
Shirtless Tim was the inspiration for Captain Underpants.
Yep.
But Shirtless Tim called himself Captain...
This movie, they probably call it Captain Underbritches.
Captain Cutoffs.
I don't know. So many short cutoffs, yeah.
All right. That was great.
All right.
We're doing great.
Good movie. Yeah, we're great.
Wake up, George.
I'm awake.
Was that good?
That was good.
That was terrible. Who's going to be there? So now we have our revenge story.
I got no idea. I was spending all day thinking who am I going to do the revenge story about?
All right, then I'll read mine. Is that what you're telling me?
Yours.
You're just going to
absolutely
steal ideas from me?
Yep.
All right. Cue the music. Right. Ooh. Later that year, our movie opens with Leslie and Tanya. They move to the big city, New York City. They become roommates.
Whoa, New York City.
Yeah.
That is a big city.
They want to get out of Arkansas.
Yeah.
Because they obviously didn't like camping. And they didn't know how to dress to camp. When they went camping, they were wearing nice clothes, no boots, no nothing. And Leslie had no makeup. So Tanya, she wears cutoffs. And she dates hairy, smelly guys in Williamsburg because, she's into that. Leslie...
yeah, she thinks they're sexy.
Yes. Leslie can never find makeup she needs, and she's always upset that Tanya has one of those scary creatures called a cat as a pet. It always pops up behind her, and she goes, mad cat. She thinks it's got rabies.
There's a lot of mad animals in this movie. Mad cats, mad dogs.
What Tanya didn't know was that by accepting Crenshaw's mouth tobacco, she had agreed to be his bride by his rules.
Oh no, poor Tanya.
If you accept Crenshaw's mouth tobacco, you can't just run off like that. It's very embarrassing for Crenshaw and his people. His people were out in the woods. We didn't meet them. But...
Oh, there were other people. Or was it just the goat?
Yeah. So soon after the gang left Boggy Creek, Crenshaw gathered his mouth tobacco and his shotgun shells, and he set off down the river to get to New York City. But of course, the river doesn't go to New York City, so he took a bus and a car and a train, and he got a ride from a guy named Dell who sells shower curtains. And, but Dell set his car on fire, and Crenshaw had to tend to the fire for a spell before he moved on. What's that?
That's a reference to something else, right?
No, nothing.
No?
Dell,
No.
The guy who sells shower curtains.
Oh, yes.
So he has a rough time.
Paint his automobiles, everybody.
He has a rough time in the city. He's there for a few weeks, but one day, while taking a bath in the local Starbucks bathroom, he by chance hears the sound of that complaining voice of Leslie, friend of Tanya the Deceiver. Leslie's complaining that they spelled her name wrong on her cappuccino.
Oh, no. Wow, they spelled her name in the cappuccino. Oh, on the cup. I thought in the phone.
Yeah, and he follows her home. She doesn't recognize him because he's wearing the skin of a grimace that he killed in Times Square.
A grimace.
So he gets to the building, but it's an elevator, and they live on the 8th floor, and Crenshaw has never seen an elevator before. But as luck would have it, there's a kid on the 7th floor, and they were having a McDonald's-themed birthday party. And the party goers are like, come on, you're late. Because they think he's Grimace. So he gets on the elevator. So Crenshaw gets to the 7th floor, and Tanya lives upstairs on the 8th floor. So
right above the McDonald's, huh?
No, McDonald's party. Is that not clear?
Oh, I assumed a McDonald's party. I wrongly assumed it was at a McDonald's.
No, it's a McDonald's-themed birthday party, and they think he's one of the...
That party's trash.
Actors. So he can smell Tanya upstairs, and it's an old building. So he climbs up the tiny, laundry shaft, shedding his grimace skin, which permanently scars the little kid who witnesses this. He sneaks into Tanya's and Leslie's apartment and sees her talking to her baby. He's never seen a human baby before. This baby is a cat. The cat named Janie Pants.
Jamie Pants?
Yeah, like Eric Trump, Crenshaw has no idea what a human baby looks like. And thus, as is Crenshaw's custom, he stole her baby as revenge while she was napping, and he made his way back to Boggy Creek. He stowed away on a plane that had snakes on it, but he made it back okay. And to this day, if you visit him to study humans, you will find him tending to his fires in fear that Tanya's come to get her baby, Janie Pants, her cat. And back in the city, Tanya always suspected that Leslie got rid of her cat. Don't you understand what's happening? Back in the city, Tanya, her cat's gone, and she always suspected that Leslie got rid of it.
And she assumes it's Leslie.
Because she was afraid of it and thought it was mad. So
that makes sense.
Suspicion destroyed their friendship, so Crenshaw unwittingly got revenge on her. And this movie is called Whatever Happened to Baby Janie Pants.
Oh my God.
There you go.
I knew there's a reason it was called Baby Janie Pants. That sucks. But at
Did
home,
that make sense?
Our erstwhile co-host, John Kelly, just clapped his hands delightedly at that. That was such a John joke.
It was.
We miss you, John.
We miss you.
All right. It did make sense, Tim.
Okay.
That was a surprise, considering that there's only 4 main characters in the movie, more or less, and you only were dealing with 3. Yeah. There was a lot of twists and turns in that story.
Okay.
All right.
I cue your music?
Cue it up.
Okay.
My story does not begin as a story of revenge. It begins as a story of unrequited love. And so often in our society, when somebody is enamored of another person who does not notice them or appreciate them that way, because of various shortcomings of that person in the first place, it will turn to revenge. And that's what this is sadly a story of. And because there's only like 5 people in this movie...
You're stealing my idea.
I'm not stealing Tim's idea, but it is a similar character. It's Shirtless Tim.
Uh-huh.
So we remarked in our synopsis of the movie that Shirtless Tim there was like oddly no sexual chemistry with him and any of the characters, despite him constantly being shirtless, constantly stripping down.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't even seem to have any scenes where he directly addressed the women, but turns out he was deeply in love with Tanya.
Yeah, I could tell.
He kept trying to take his shirt off. He kept drawing her pictures of guys she thought was sexy, aka monkey men. He kept trying to impress her, but she just would not look at him straight. And Shirtless Tim being Shirtless Tim, he gradually put together, he's like, the only guy, aside from the professor, I saw her interact with was Old Man Crenshaw.
Oh, yeah.
And Old Man Crenshaw was also shirtless, but Old Man Crenshaw had something I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Copious body hair.
Right.
Then he thought back to the drawing of the ape man he had done, who was even hairier. And Tanya looked at that and was like, I think he's sexy.
Mm-hmm.
So he realized what he needed to do was he needed to do something to cure his complete baldness of his chestal region.
Uh-oh.
And he figured what he'll start with is he would go and ask advice to Old Man Crenshaw. So he shows up. This is about a year later.
Uh-oh.
He shows up at Old Man Crenshaw's property. Old Man Crenshaw has learned no more fires. Still sitting there with his jug of moonshine and a shotgun. They have a talk, and he's like, she was a good woman. Wait, what?
Does he say, I got to tend to my dream catchers?
Yeah, got to get all them bad dreams out of here. He's like, this one's me in pig school where I can't show up to school naked. Got to get rid of that dream. Weird side jokes, everybody.
Okay, pig school.
But yeah, pig school. I don't know. I figure that guy didn't go to high school. I'm making very snap judgments on Old Man Crenshaw. But everyone, look up Old Man Crenshaw. You know him, right? So he's like, Old Man Crenshaw, this is Shirtless Tim talking. How do I become as hairy as you? Because you also appreciate the beauty that was Tanya. He's like, I done heard of a way, but I ain't the man to show you how to get more hair put on your chest. There's a man named Oscar Colpotter. And so the name is familiar to Shirtless Tim. And of course, Oscar Colpotter is the retired attorney.
Oh, it's
who had the yeah. So Tim takes his advice from the hirsute Old Man Crenshaw, and he finds Oscar Colpotter. Sure enough, they have a meeting, and Oscar Colpotter tells him, goes, I used to be like you. I was completely hairless from the waist down until one day I fell in that there turlet. And he beckons to the outhouse in the backyard. Goes, son, you want to have hairiness like me? And he drops his jaws, and this guy looks like a fucking satyr. He's so hairy from the waist down.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go immerse yourself in that dumping station. So Tim Jr., anxious to get the approval of Tanya, he goes and he spends the best part of the week sunk up to his neck in the cast-off fecal matter of the Colpotters in their outhouse. Yeah.
This better have a good twist.
It doesn't.
You're grossing me.
Nah, because he just sits there. It's awful because you know what? The Colpotters, they went indoor plumbing.
Yeah.
It was chili week at the local fair.
Sure.
So they come in, they're dispensing their sinful business on top of Shirtless Tim. And the whole time as he's being besplattered and bemucked, he's like, it'll all be worth it. Tanya is mine. A week passes. He clambers out of the chamber. He's not covered with hair. Mm-hmm. He's caked in human fecal matter.
Okay.
And he's so excited to prove, but he can't tell because he's caked. You know, he can't see that he's not hairy.
Okay.
He's so excited. He shows up at the big city housing of Tanya. The big city is, I don't know, Dill Pickle, Texarkana.
How about
population 6?
Why not New York?
Because that's too big a city. How's he gonna get there without the fecal matter coming off?
He goes to Woodstock 2. Like, hey.
If Woodstock 2, if this was happening in time, he would have been set. He's like, hey everybody, I have a good idea. Let's roll around the dirty poop mud. Like, what a great idea, Shirtless Tim. Shirtless Tim, now called Shit Encrusted Tim, shows up at her house, rings the doorbell, and she immediately slams the door in his face. She's like, you're a weirdo creep. I never want to see you again.
And Tanya goes,
and his revenge.
Mad. I don't know. What do you say?
Wait, what did she say?
Tanya.
What did Tanya say?
She'd say mad something. I couldn't think of what it would be.
That's Leslie. It was some mad thing.
Mad Mudman.
Leslie answers the door. You're right. And she's like, mad shit boy.
Yes.
And Tanya comes to her. She's like, that ain't no shit boy. It's just Shirtless Tim. Then she smells him. She goes, he is a shit boy. Slams the door. And his revenge, you ready for this?
It better be good.
He uses his shit encrusted figures to write Dookie on her door. Yep. That's his revenge.
That's your joke. Okay, the name of the movie. Yep. Redeem yourself. You've used up all your poop equity.
Yeah, my poop equity is run dry. It's called Boggy Creek 3, The Outhousening.
Jeez.
What do you think?
The bog is what you call the toilet in
I know. I was trying to think
England.
The whole time if there was like a joke. But I'm like, are people, do we have listeners in England?
You should have had Shirtless Tim go to England to meet ladies. And he's always talking about, I'm famous for Boggy Creek. And they're like, why are you always talking about the toilet? I'm talking about Boggy Creek. He goes, I know. Why are you talking about the toilet? He goes, I'm not talking about the toilet. I'm talking about
Hey, Tim,
Boggy
whose
Creek.
revenge sequel is this? Yours or mine?
Talking about
By the
Boggy
way,
Creek.
Tim, did you see that this was, even though this was Boggy Creek 2, there was an actual Boggy Creek sequel before this?
Yeah, I read that.
Return to Boggy Creek, starring Dawn Wells, a.k.a. Mary Ann from Gilligan's Island.
She's part of the SETI
and Dana Plato, a.k.a. the girl from Different Strokes.
We may have to find that one. I'll pay $2.
I know. Their character names, too, to give you the sense of the movie.
All right.
Dawn Wells' character's name was Jolene, and Dana Plato's was Evie Joe.
Okay.
I mean,
no
come
Tanya.
on. No,
Has
no, Tanya. Tanya. Oh, those flat A's. Killing me.
So
Tanya Yizzy. What the hell sort of name is that?
Shirtless Tim comes back from England. And I'm like, oh, how are those English ladies? He's like, I can't speak that English language. They think I'm talking about the toilet. The turlet. And I'm trying to tell them about Boggy Creek.
They keep telling me to go back to the loo. And I said, I don't know what you're talking about.
The loo, yeah.
My name ain't Lou. It's Shirtless Tim. Dumb English. Well, there goes all our Southern listeners, all of our English listeners, and everyone who doesn't like poop jokes. So, like, we basically have one listener. Hi, Cousin Matt.
They're like, hey, Shirtless Tim, you want some crumpets? He's like, I don't play no musical instruments. Ba-dum-bum.
Ba-dum-bum. Man, we're a good podcast.
We are.
Tim, do we have any letters?
You better not have written, because it's way too long.
Well, we cut out the first parts.
Hey, George, we have a letter from...
Who's it from,
John
Tim?
Kelly.
John Kelly?
Yes.
Our erstwhile co-host. Let's hear what John Kelly has to say.
Whew. Long episode. Well, I'm glad you wrote, John.
Yep. Yeah.
Says, hello, SETI Bimpkanauts. Did you steal his identity?
I don't know. That does sound like something I would have written.
All right. So sorry I missed being part of the 5 Minutes to Love episode of SETI Bimco Part 2 The Revenge, as it was the film I picked. More about your reaction to the film in a bit. Tim, when mentioning the mystery co-hosts for the next episode, you mentioned having T-shirts printed with the date of the taping ending with the year 2013. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the year is 2023.
I did notice this.
Maybe you still think it's 2013.
That explains a lot.
Perhaps you've been in a state of semi-suspended consciousness the last decade. That would explain a lot. The final piece of the puzzle, as they say. You know what? I don't know what he's talking about.
I noticed you actually make a mention on that episode. You referred to 2013. I'm like, Tim doesn't know what decade it is. That's good.
All right. He continues. Also, I think Brooklyn transplanted former supermodel Alex Week may be a functioning alcoholic. Oh no, hear me out. Hear me. She is always in this bar whenever you go there. Yep, and sometimes she's friendly, and sometimes she doesn't recognize you. I think it's time for an intervention, and I can think of no two people with more empathy who would handle this more delicately. I think you could lure her to the intervention by telling her there's a free banana giveaway. Oh my God. And then pounce on her and get her to rehab. What could possibly go wrong? Also, George misspoke about Lionel Barrymore, a.k.a. Mr. Potter from It's a Wonderful Life. Yes, I tried to tell him. He was not Drew Barrymore's great-grandfather. He was her 18th cousin, 13 times removed.
That sounds like a lie.
I was disappointed in your review of 5 Minutes to Love. I'm sorry your reception was not warmer. 5 Minutes to Love is my second favorite movie after The Godfather. Because, of course, when you think Marlon Brando, Vito Corleone, you automatically think Rue McClanahan's Poochie. I just wanted to say how much I'll miss being a part of the SETI Bimco family, and to all the Danny K fan club members, the disciples of the cult of Pat Boone, and the Osmond heads out there. A new opportunity has unexpectedly come my way. Oh, he's telling us live on the air?
Is this how he breaks it to us? He's no longer part of the show?
I'm excited to announce I will be working on the presidential campaign of Republican North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. I'll make sure I say that right. Doug is a proud Norwegian, American, and former chimney sweep. And who better to lead this country than a Norwegian chimney sweep? We hope to get America back on the right track, like when Jake from State Farm was white. I will continue to be a devoted fan. All the best, John Aloysius Kelly. John might come back someday, but John's got a different job, and he's otherwise detained for a little while.
We miss you, John.
We do. And you can send us a letter at SETIBIMCO with an E at the end @gmail.com. We're on Instagram, SETIBIMCO on Instagram, and Mastodon, not on Facebook, not on Twitter. And you can like us and listen to us anywhere.
Cool.
Give us 5 stars, as some people have.
So I have some bad news, faithful listeners. Next week, I'm not going to be here. I'm not here. So instead, we'll have a guest host. Will it
Fill
be
in.
Kiri
It'll be
Kabim face?
Mr. Cablasto. Maybe we'll have Mr. Cablasto.
Maybe he'll pick one of his favorite movies.
Maybe there'll be female guest.
Wait, what?
Maybe guest will be Samuel Clemens.
Oh man, I want to hear the episode with just you fucking talking to yourself and Samuel Clemens the whole time. Just giggling. Oh, Samuel Clemens. Oh,
It might be
this
me
is
and
sweet.
King Moody.
Maybe, yeah, King. I mean, the guy's been dead for 60 years, but that shouldn't stop you.
He only died like 20 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Or something
King
like
Moody.
that. All right. So there'll be a guest host. And we'll see you next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.
Everybody, I just want you to know Tim Hamilton, formerly, the enamored subject, banana related with supermodel Alex Week, now keeps running into Jenny Slate, famed comedian and writer of Marcel the Shoe, with one of the co-writers of Marcel the Shell with Shoes.
What?
He's been seeing her everywhere.
But she used to date Captain America.
She used to date Chris Evans, aka Captain America.
And now she's married. Can you... I couldn't do that.
Oh, that
could you
part-
marry...
yeah,
how could you
who the
marry a
fuck?
woman who's always like, yeah, I used to date Captain America?
Yeah, I mean, Tim,
Every argument would end.
I'm a cis hetero guy, right? But I could look at Chris Evans and be like, that guy's dreamy. Like, who's gonna compare to that guy?
I know.
He's all good politics. He's all hunky. He's got America's butt like that. I mean, who did she marry?
Visited kids in a hospital.
He visits kids in hospital. He beats up those kids? Probably not. I'm looking up Jenny Slate husband.
Don't do that.
I'm looking up right now.
Cutting this out. She's
No,
married.
this is
She's
good
married.
stuff.
She's married to Grimace.
She's-
Grimace has
Oh
a
my
lot of
God.
money.
His name is Ben Shattuck. Oh, he's good looking. He's better looking than me, which, folks, Google it. It's not in a high bar, but he's a good looking guy.